Here is how to implement the mover cover system into any mover project. For now, I'm going to be using the game animation sample project as it already has a mover character that we can easily integrate it in, but this should work on any other project that is currently using mover. First, you want to add the plugin to the project. You can either do this manually by just creating a plugins folder and adding the plugin in, or you can do it through Fab, which will do it for you. Then you want to open up the project and make sure that the plugin is enabled. Once you are in the project, it is worth double checking that you have plugin content visible in the content browser. You can do that by clicking on the settings cog on the far right of the content browser and just ticking the plugin content. Here you should be able to see all of the mover cover system content. We've got the UI, the material, the input, and examples. The examples are basically taken from game animation sample project, but have the functions and things needed to make the cover system work with it. It's basically a quick setup for integrating cover system into game animation sample. Here we can go into the world override and change the default character to the mover cover example character. One important step that you also need to do is find the enum for the movement modes and add cover into it. This is just to make sure that the cover example blueprint knows what enum to use for the cover movement mode. Now, if we was to play the game, you will see we have a different mover character. If you can see the pink accents on the mover character, you've successfully replaced the mover pawn with the example pawn. And if you walk up to a wall and hit F, you should be able to enter into cover. And all of the cover mechanics work as expected. If you are using the game animation sample project and you're on a fresh new project, I'd recommend starting with this example set of blueprints and animation data. However, if you're using your own custom mover character or you've made modifications to the normal gasp character, then I will show you how to integrate it into that in a second. Here I'm just going to show off that the network replication works. So as you can see on the other client, we can see that let me get into a better position. We can see that the cover system actually works and it all just works naturally in multiplayer. And we can see that the cover system works for both characters. So if I was to go into cover with this character and go into cover with this character, they will both get entered into cover. And we can see that on both screens. If you are adding the mover cover system into a non-game animation sampling project, or if you are adding it into a modified game animation sample project, I'd recommend looking into the example to see exactly what's been changed to add into the cover system. For the chooser table, we simply just enabled cover on these enums for the movement modes in the stops, just to fix up some of the motion matching stuff while in cover. In the blueprint, if you search for comment cover, you can see all of the blueprint functions added for the cover system. Obviously, you will also need to add the mover cover component into the pawn and set all of the settings in the default settings. And you will also need to make some adjustments to the character mover or just mover component to add transitions into the walking movement mode and to add the cover movement mode. For the cover entry and cover exit transitions. Here you can also adjust all of the default settings for the cover mode. And another change we've added is to simply set some And another change we made is in the animation blueprint, and these are just simply plugging in some of the movement mode changes. So since we now have the cover movement mode, we also need to account for that in the animation blueprint. The main ones are the blend time and the interrupt modes. However, I've gone through everywhere else and added what I believe is needed for the cover system. Obviously, you can make your own adjustments and change up everything to how you need for your project.